I've been thinking about you. I'm waiting for it all to come true. I'm longing to hear you say, you know that I miss us. I wanna be the one that you trust, 'cause you have stole my heart away. There can't be no other. Baby, I don't even bother whatever they have to say. My heart's already chose you. It's so scary thinking I can lose you, that you will turn and walk away. Maybe I win, maybe I lose, but nevertheless I'm in love with you. So what can I do? What can I do?
Alright, what's going on everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another 10-point review. Today we are in a 2018 Porsche Macan, or Porsche Macan, whichever way you want to call it. I've only been driving this thing for a bit, and I will tell you right off the bat right now, I want one. So real quick, let's talk about the interior of the car. Definitely as soon as you get in, it has a premium feel throughout. Premium soft touch materials everywhere. You've got the red stitching. There's not even any wood accents anywhere really. It's all kind of a stainless steel brushed nickel type look to it. It definitely screams Porsche all the way through. The seats are comfortable. It has a very sporty feel throughout. Really, when you think about a Porsche, you think about a sports car, right? You think about the Porsche racing heritage. And so now when you think about a Porsche SUV, how well does that racing heritage, that sports car type approach translate into the car? And so that's what hopefully I'm going to find out today. So starting here in the driver's seat, the overall approach to the interior design is very simple. Smooth, clean lines throughout. It's not an overly designed car. And even the center cluster has a very simple design and a very sports car forward type of design. You've got your tachometer in the center, you've got your shift gauge in the center, speedometer on the left, and on the right you have a small screen that gives you a lot of other information that you might need, which is nice because it's not distracting, but it gives you all the information that you need. And if you want to get into some of the other menus that are available in the car, you've got your infotainment system, which is beautiful and very responsive, and it's built right into the car. Not distracting at all, but it has a nice, sharp, clean display. As far as how the car drives, it drives exactly the way that you would imagine a small SUV built by a sports car company would handle itself, if that makes any sense. The steering is tight, the suspension is tight, and it feels like a sports car. It feels like a medium-sized sports car. As far as the acceleration goes, it's definitely not a 911, that's for sure. And if you're in regular mode, it's almost a little, I don't know how to put it, it's almost a little, I don't want to say gutless, but it's almost a little slow off the line in regular mode. Hesitant, yeah, it's almost hesitant. You can be at a red light, you mash the gas, and it takes a second for it to engage and to really get going. Once you get into the higher RPMs and you start going through the gears, then you really start to feel that power come through. But it's a little hesitant off the line. Sport mode, on the other hand, is very responsive. And what I like most about it is how fast it shifts through the gears. I mean, you almost don't even feel some of these gear shifts. Super smooth. I really like sport mode on this thing.
Yeah, it feels good.
And then on top of that, you do have a off-road button. So if you're getting into some slick type conditions, or maybe you're on a dirt road, you can go into off-road. Something that I really don't like about this car, and it's little things like this that after a while aren't a big deal, but you notice how much you miss them when they're not there. And I'm talking about little things like a spot to put your phone, which this car doesn't really have up here. It's got this middle compartment over here, but it's really small. That's where the USB port is at. It's a little awkward trying to get to it. You're not really going to put your phone there. So there's really not a spot to put it. There's also not any room over here to put anything else. So there's nowhere to put your phone. And not only that, but there's also nowhere to put your glasses or your sunglasses. Normally there's a little spot up here, a little flap or something to put your glasses in. That doesn't exist here. Hopefully you have everything in your pockets because there's nowhere to put anything. Yeah, it's just a tiny little gripe, but it's kind of annoying. It wouldn't stop me from buying the car. The handling on it is just fantastic. And if you really get on it, the suspension on it is not nearly as plush, I should say, as maybe other luxury SUVs, but it's not going to be because it's not really meant to be a plush luxury type SUV. This is more of a premium high-end sports SUV, and so the approach is very different. Which is good because that's exactly what this car is supposed to be. The car is exactly what it should be, being an SUV from Porsche, and you can see and you can feel the Porsche, for lack of a better term, DNA throughout the car. So we're in the canyons. This is a Porsche. It should drive like a Porsche. So far it has, and it feels like it. I'm in sport mode, so I'm going to take the canyons and see how it feels and see if it can hug the corners, take the corners, and really drive like a sports car.
Alright, here we go.
Alright.
We're winding up.
Get ready, we're in sport mode.
Get ready, get set.
Go. Go. Woo! Oh, come on. Come on. That is good. That is excellent. Oh man. It really does drive very, very sporty, doesn't it?
You guys.
Oh man, this is...
Should we get one?
Well, so far the car is handled exactly the way that I thought it was going to. It's just light. It's very nimble, quick around the corners. Steering is responsive. It has very little hesitation in sport mode. Shifts through the gears beautifully and almost seamlessly. It does everything that I would want it to do. And so far, honestly, this car is just spot on. The only gripes that I have so far, like I said, there's just no spot to put your phone or your glasses or even a small cubby to put a couple of other items that you might have in hand. But other than that, the car is just solid, absolutely solid. It grips the road, and it's just a lot of fun to drive. It's a pleasure to drive this car. Alright, it's time to give the Macan an AutoVice score. Let's start with the value category. For this, let's check out the competition, starting with the Euro class, of course. We're going to go with the BMW X3 and the Jaguar E-Pace. Just to keep things even, I know that this is a used car at this point that I'm doing the review, so I'm going to go with the starting MSRP on all three models, and really all the models that we're comparing it to. So it's entry level, and obviously the numbers are going to vary depending on, dealership market, or depending on what trim level you get or any kind of options that you might get. So this is just the starting point. The first thing that jumps out at me is the starting MSRP on the Jaguar, almost $10,000 cheaper than the Porsche. So that definitely jumps out. Obviously, one of the biggest differences that I see there as well, though, is that the Jaguar maxes out or tops out at just under 300 horsepower, whereas the Porsche you can get up to 440. So that's definitely a big difference there. So really the BMW is the more accurate comparison here, or the bigger competitor, I should say. Looking at the cargo room, obviously that's a big factor in this category. Porsche definitely is at the bottom end of that with only 17.7 square feet with the seats up versus 28 and change from the BMW or 24 and change from the Jaguar. Once the seats are folded down, it's comparable. Definitely the BMW wins in that category. Okay, now let's take a look at some competition from overseas, or I should say not from Europe. So we'll go with the 2018 Acura RDX and the 2018 Lincoln MKC. Again, looking at the numbers, Porsche is the most expensive out of the three. So those 5 cars that we looked at here total, and Porsche is definitely the more expensive. Acura in this category decided to go with 279 horsepower out of a 3.5 liter V6. Definitely has more cargo room with the seats up at just over 26 square feet. And the Lincoln is pretty similar, 25 and change square feet with the seats up. Once the seats are folded down, they're all pretty comparable. The Acura is a little bit more with about 10 more square feet. Similar starting power numbers, right? 250 and change. For the Lincoln, again, the Lincoln's similar to the Jaguar. It tops out at just under 300. Looking at the dollar signs, obviously is important. Lincoln's cheap, and then Acura kind of right in the middle there. So once we look at it and compare it up against some other rivals, my conclusion is that the Porsche is expensive. It's pretty expensive, and it doesn't give you the most cargo room with the seats up or down. It's comparable to the BMW, but when I look at it, even though it's a beautiful car, I really enjoy it. You can get a lot of the same features that you have in this car in other cars. You can get the luxury, you can get the performance, you can get the space, you can get the capabilities without the price tag. So for that, I really don't have much of a choice. I can't score it high. I can't score it high at all, to be honest. So as far as true value and what it brings to the table, I gotta go with a 6.5. It kind of hurts to say it, but I'm gonna go at a 6.5. Performance, on the other hand, which is why you really buy a vehicle like this, is a whole nother story. I gotta go 9 out of 10. The car accelerates quick when you're in sport mode. It shifts beautifully. The handling dynamics on it are excellent. And really, that's kind of what it's about. I forgot at one point that I was even driving an SUV. It drives like a medium-sized sports car or sports sedan. Now for the interior. Honestly, the interior is kind of a mixed bag for me. I do like and appreciate the simplicity of the controls, the styling. It's definitely functional. You've got room for 3 people in the back, or 2 people and so a couple of soft drinks. You got USB ports available. The whole car has a very sporty look and feel to it with premium materials. The electronics and the switches are easy to use, very intuitive. And while everything seems like it's going great, then it kind of stumbles a little bit. Some of the lights come across as a little cheap, and a lot of the push buttons have a cheap feel to it. And honestly, a lot of the technology inside the car already feels a little dated. Touch sensitive lighting would have been nice. It's not great when you're paying almost $50,000 for a car and it's already kind of starting to feel a little dated. It even has a CD player and some SD card slots. So if you're the kind of person that still carries your CDs in your sun visor, this is a perfect car for you. It is easy to overlook some of these shortcomings though, especially when you're looking at some of the premium approach on many of the features that this Porsche does have. The backup camera is excellent, lots of sensors on that guy, very informative. So overall, well done. I'm going to go with an 8.5. It's just very comfortable. Oh, wait, hold on. I almost forgot about the whole no place to put your cell phone thing. So I'm going to bring that back down to an 8. Anyway, moving on to overall design. The car looks good now. 10 years from now, it's still going to look good. 50 years from now, it's still going to look good. So 9 out of 10 on overall design. The next category is functionality, which is kind of the whole point of this vehicle. But it's not just for someone who's looking for pure functionality. This car is really meant more for somebody who's looking for that, but also looking for a sports car. Somebody who is maybe having to make compromises and maybe is looking for a daily driver that's going to fit all of these categories. But at the same time, doesn't want to make compromises. You want to have that luxury car. You want to have those premium materials, and you definitely want to have the performance and the driving dynamics. So that's why you would go for the Porsche. And it makes sense. So for me, even though it doesn't have the most cargo room, it's just really how great it is. I'm going to go with a 9 out of 10. Why not, right? 9 out of 10. Okay, so for our final score, we take those 5, add them up, do a little bit of math, get the average number, and that comes out to an 8.3 for an overall score, which is pretty good. It's honestly a little lower than I thought it was going to come in. I feel like it should have been higher, but I think this is the kind of car that you get not because of necessarily scores or numbers. This is the kind of car that you buy if you want to buy this car. This is the kind of car that you buy because of what your heart tells you. Probably one of my favorite SUVs that I've driven, without a doubt. Probably without a doubt. No, without a doubt.
Keep an eye out for the burros.
Burritos?
Yep, they just roam free out here. That's why it's a $500 fine if we feed them. But sometimes they'll be in the neighborhood.